always tell people one of the things I hang my hat on as a marketer is the skill set that I have. At its core, marketing is a discipline, right? Like the understanding of the foundational things like your audiences and your your messaging and your tone and your voice. None of that changes, just the channels by which we use to use those things or to communicate those things and connect to people. So even though over the years there's much that has changed about the channels that we use, so how social media has grown, how digital marketing has grown with SEO and website development and all of that, at its core, it is still the same stuff. It is still the 5 P's of marketing. And if you can't answer, and I think it's like 8 P's now, who knows? But yeah, I've been in college a long time. But it's still that at its core. And if you can answer those questions, then you can really go into any space that's relevant for your audience and really make it work. So the changes that I've seen are just really, really technical, like the lack of attention span that we're dealing with consumers has really forced us into shorter types of content and, different ways that we write. Whereas, when I was growing up, we were taught to write and really build a story and then boom, drop it. And now it's like, no, you need to tell me up front, drop your bomb here, and then you can go and get in depth. And so I've seen things change as kind of human behavior has changed, how people take in information and what they do with that and how they process it, and how quickly that has to happen has really pushed the industry changes. Everybody's looking for the faster way the quicker way to be able to connect with people, but at its core, it's still the same thing. So yes, changes, but if you are a person who is talking to a marketer or a person who is a marketer or wants to be a marketer in any way, you've got to know the foundation in order for any of that to be effective, no matter what happens, right? No matter how many technologies, no matter how many social media platforms, goodness knows there's a ton of those, no matter how many things happen with SEO and all of that, if you know those core things, then usually you can still survive and thrive within those changes. So it's just been a lot of adaptation to what's new and what humans would like to do in their behaviors, but still at its core.
I agree. My motto all day, every day: people, process, data, technology, in that order. Welcome to the Analytical Rewired, the best place to discuss various obstacles, limitations, challenges, behaviors, and how to overcome them in business. We deep dive into the complexities of people, processes, data, and technology, PPDT, adopting our focus to be either technical or creative expressions, and how to balance the two. The Analytical Rewired is brought to you by the MJW Group, a performance improvement and leadership development boutique management consulting firm that helps companies save time and money leveraging operational excellence. Our mission is to enable your organization to be more successful by refining overarching strategies into detailed plans to be implemented, generate creative and technical solutions for your operational challenges, augment and supplement your existing teams, and help you create processes that allow you to be more efficient with the resources you have. You can learn more about the MJW Group on our website at themjwgrp.com. Welcome to the Analytical Rewired. I am your host, Jennifer White, and today I have with me Jacqui Jones. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent. So Jacqui is the owner of 1 Degree Marketing, an agency based in Birmingham, Alabama. And so here at the Analytical Rewired, we always get into the complexities around people, processes, data, and technology, and how we use our creative and technical brains to navigate those complexities. And so I'm interested in hearing how Jacqui has navigated those obstacles and limitations in her digital agency here. And with that, Jacqui, I'll let you take it away.
So hi, everyone. Jennifer, thank you for having me. Let me start right there because I just admire and love you so much. So I feel so honored to be here with you. I'm Jacqui. I think we said that multiple times. I own 1 Degree Marketing. We are an outsourced digital marketing firm. We offer what I like to call core marketing channels. So your social media management, email marketing, website design, development. We do help with strategy, but that's more of a one-time project type thing for us. Outside of that, in one-time projects, it is just a lot of web development. And we house what's called Elevation Academy, which, you know, it's fun for me because it teaches people how to do what they can with what they have for their marketing if they're not ready to outsource at a much lower cost. So that's really what I do every day. So I get to listen to people talk about what it is they want to see happen in for their businesses, for their organizations, for their future, how we support their goals, and make that make sense in a marketing aspect. And that's a lot of fun. I hope you hear the sarcasm when I say a lot of fun. It's very challenging work, but it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Yeah, so as you can hear, Jacqui is very charismatic. She's an extrovert. I just love her energy. I don't know if I would call me an extrovert though. She's like this all the time. So marketing suits her very well. And you can just imagine if you're working with her, what it would be like on a day-to-day basis. So Jacqui and I met, let's just talk about quickly how we connected. So we met 6 or 7 months ago now.
You know, it's funny because I don't remember when it started. I only remember when it ended. September, so carry the one. Yeah, let's go with 8 months. 8 months ago.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
8 or 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs, getting our lives together as business owners, trying to navigate the things, learn the things, be better at what we're doing, which program is great. And I'm so grateful for the connections like with you. But we met at a time where we were both we're having to work on ourselves and our businesses and really put in some hard work. And what better place to meet people than when you realize that they're trying to do similar things in life. I think it makes for a different kind of connection.
Right. And I don't think people realize that sometimes how many evolutions companies go through. So as a business, you want to continuously innovate and update and adjust, right, with the times. So not only major strategic events like COVID, but just any time that you want to change the flow of how the business is, add new people to your team as well, grow or expand into a new market that you haven't ventured in before. So that comes with time and energy and investing and a lot of planning to do that. And Jacqui and I was part of a program that allowed us to do that. It was tough.
Yeah,
I'm not going to sugarcoat it because you still have to run a business, but it was definitely a great experience. And I agree with you about the connections as well.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And you're so right about how businesses kind of evolve all the time. And I don't think people realize that. And even on the entrepreneurship journey, I don't think you know that when you start. Like you think, oh, I'm going to get this stuff started and we're going to just smooth sail from there. And it's like, you're going to smooth sail to the next challenge. And then you're going to figure that out and they're going to smooth sail to the next challenge. And I choose challenge very carefully because I think it's not necessarily the next issue or problem. A lot of times it is just a challenge. And because it's new, it is challenging, but it's rewarding still. But you're right. There's evolution at all times.
Yeah, so let's talk about how you got into just marketing, right? And let alone the digital side. So which one came first for you in your journey?
It was not the digital side because when I got my marketing degree, social media wasn't a thing, despite how young I look, I know. But no, it was not a thing when I was in college. I think we still had like College Club and Black Planet. And like, that was the extent of social media.
Snap, I forgot about Black Planet.
Black Planet was the move. I was definitely, I had a MySpace page. Like that was,
I remember MySpace.
Early days. And so that's where I was when I was in college. Like there was I remember being on Facebook even like when you had to have a .edu email address in order to be on it.
And it was a Zuckerberg production. Remember that at the bottom?
Right. Yeah, because it was supposed to be like a virtual yearbook where you could actually interact with people. So you had to be in college and all this kind of stuff. So the digital part definitely was not first. I always tell people I'm at an age where I'm just old enough to remember life without a lot of technologies, but just young enough to kind of have grown up with what we see today. And so I'm kind of in this good hybrid space where I get to communicate very well about things because I've learned it as it's happened. But it was not first. So I got into marketing. I don't even know if you know this, Jennifer. So if you don't, I'm going to be interested to see your face when it happens. So right out of college, so I went to University of Alabama, got a marketing degree because my mother, who I love, by the way, told me that I needed to get a degree in something I could get a job in. So theater and music was not an option, despite the fact that that's how I spent most of my life. But after college, I decided not to get a job. I wanted to pursue music full time. And so I did. I was a professional songwriter for like 8 years. Okay. And it was going great, but I was tired. I was like, I need healthcare. And I need to be able to do something else with my life and settle down if I ever want to have a family and all that kind of stuff. So I took kind of my love for telling people's story and married it to the skills that I had from marketing and said, okay, well, if it's not an artist who I want to stand on a stage and sing this and be able to tell their story in a way that's effective and wonderful, where else can I point that energy? So I started helping my musician friends get endorsements and different stuff like that by putting together marketing packages. And I was like, okay, I found it. Businesses and entrepreneurs and organizations need to be able to also sing their songs, so to speak. So I used that to kind of take me from songwriting world to small businesses, organizations, and that's grown since the beginning days. But that's kind of how it's like, yes, I have a degree in it. That is a training set of mine, but I kind of married it to a passion and found a new love for it outside of music. So it's a very weird kind of
no, I totally get it. And right when you said that, it made me think about the Jamie Foxx show. Remember how he used to write jingles? Yeah,
that's the thing. And you know what? And I should have taken like that kind of lane if I wanted to stay in music. But honestly, as much as I love music, it's one of those industries, you know, where you have to prove yourself so much every day. And I was like, listen, I'm not gonna keep. I'm tired. I had gotten to a point where at the job I was working then, I would come in on Mondays like straight from the airport. I was just tired. I was like, I can't head on the desk. I was just tired. I was like, I'm over it. I need better control of my life than this. And so I just slowly kind of put it down. But marketing, starting the company really helped me find a way to just tap into that creativity. But I'm a very logical person, which is hard to find with a creative where you kind of have both sides of the brain happening. Exactly. But as creative as I am, I really appreciate processes. I really appreciate discipline. I really appreciate boundary. Like I know what place and what part that they play in life and in business. And that's different for a creative, but I'm that kind of person. And so I was like, yeah, I can't with y'all over here. I love writing songs, but I need to go over here where people can follow some kind of something, right? Like we can't just be all over the place. So that's kind of my story into a marketing firm in general. But I love it. I love marketing. I love being able to help people realize what it is. It's a translation, is what I always tell people. When they talk to me, they're like, I feel like I'm rambling. And I'm like, well, you are. But my job is to translate the kind of no purpose rambling into something that is tangible and that is understandable. And that translation just gives me a lot of happy.
Good. And I'm glad to hear how you've transitioned into where you are today. That's a really, really good story. And if you guys don't know, Jacqui does have a TED Talk out there in the world that you can search for.
in the internet streets.
And you'll see exactly what she means by that, because I can definitely, the story that you told in your TED Talk, I could follow it from beginning all the way to the end. I was so intrigued. I was like, tell me more. Like, I want to know more. So it was really, really good. Talking about the shift, right, into digital marketing, how else have you seen it shift, like the whole marketing industry shift throughout the years?
You know what? Throughout the years is heavy because, you know, today, and I always, you know, anytime that I'm doing this type of this type of thing, always put a timestamp on it. Like today is May 5th, 2022. So when I say this, right, which is why if you start to hear some noise, there's a bar downstairs from my office. I did not think about the fact that this was Cinco de Mayo and they are turning up. But I'm going to join them right after this. But you know, just even in the last couple of years, as we dealt with pandemic life and all of that, it has really forced a lot of change in marketing in general. But over the years, you know, the biggest thing has been kind of the technology. I always tell people one of the things I hang my hat on as a marketer is the skill set that I have at its core. Marketing is a discipline, right? Like the understanding of the foundational things like your audiences and your, you know, your messaging and your tone and your voice. None of that changes, just the channels by which we use that we use to use those things or to communicate those things and connect to people. So even though over the years, as much that has changed about the channels that we use, so how social media has grown, how digital marketing has grown with SEO and website development and all of that, at its core, it is still the same stuff. It is still the 5 P's of marketing. And if you can't answer, you know, and I think it's like 8 P's now, who knows? But yeah, I've been in college a long time. But it's still that at its core. And if you can answer those questions, then you can really go into any space that's relevant for your audience and really make it work. So the changes that I've seen are just really, really technical, like the lack of attention span that we're dealing with consumers has really forced us into shorter types of content and, you know, different ways that we write. Whereas, you know, when I was growing up, we were taught to write and really build a story and then boom, drop it. And now it's like, no, you need to tell me up front, drop your bomb here, and then you can go and get in depth. And so I've seen things change as kind of human behavior has changed, how people take in information and what they do with that and how they process it, and how quickly that has to happen has really pushed the industry changes. Everybody's looking for the faster way to, the quicker way to be able to connect with people, but at its core, it's still the same thing. So yes, changes, but if you are a person who is talking to a marketer or a person who is a marketer or wants to be a marketer in any way, you've got to know the foundation in order for any of that to be effective, no matter what happens, right? No matter how many technologies, no matter how many social media platforms, goodness knows there's a ton of those, no matter how many things happen with SEO and all of that, if you know those core things, then usually you can still survive and thrive within those changes. So it's just been a lot of adaptation to what's new and what humans would like to do in their behaviors, but you know, still at its core.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, my motto all day, every day, people, process, data, technology, in that order. So yeah, it doesn't matter.
So, have we coined that yet? I'm just trying to see if
we're working on it. It's out here. It's out here in these internet streets.
Listen, I'm here for it because you've been saying it a lot. Like I feel like every time you're talking about something, you're like, listen, right here in this order, processes, and I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, exactly. So running and growing your organization, I know you're growing right now. And I know it's been probably, I know for us, it's been the toughest last 2 years ever. And but with growth comes more responsibility, more expectation. It just, everything compounds. So what do you say is your biggest lesson that you've learned going through this?
Oh, you know, oh man, I wish I had like a real good answer to this. But the answer that I have is so simple. My biggest lesson has been, I don't know anything. Like, I just don't know nothing. Like, I have to say it like that. Like, I consider myself a forever learner. Because I've had to be, because there's so much that I do not know. And that lesson has been learned over and over and over again, no matter how prepared I feel, no matter how many times that I've done a thing, no matter how many times, even in the work that I do, no matter how many clients I've had that I'm supposed to be doing the same service for, it just is never the same. And so I've had to learn that I have to always go into every circumstance, every situation, hiring, saying, what do you need to learn today? Because you don't know, like, never assume you know. There's never been a place where I've been like, I know exactly what I'm doing, and it was true. Like, it's never proven to be true. So I think that's been a hard lesson for me because I consider myself extremely smart. I feel like the charisma is just because I feel very confident in what I know. I know what I know. But I've had to learn in a lot of hard ways that there's just a lot I do not know. So surrounding and the kind of impact of that's had on how I've been growing and how I've been putting that into my business and my organization is just hiring people who do know. Like, I don't have to be an expert at everything. I don't have to even fully grasp it all. What I have to understand is how it impacts what I'm doing, how it impacts the people that work with me, and what is it that I need to fill that hole. I don't have to fill every hole. I don't have to be, the master of all things. That's not really possible. So I've had to learn really hard lessons that, girl, you don't know, girl, stop. You don't know. It's okay. Yeah. And it's okay that you don't know. And that's hard for me because I want to know. I want to move quick. I want to, do all the stuff. And I'm impatient as crap. Like, I'm so impatient. And so knowing is good for impatience because it's like, oh, if I know, I can just go. I'm not waiting on anyone or anything. So I run into that wall even now. But I try to remember, always assume you don't know, always assume there is a question to be answered. And sometimes you don't know the question to ask. That's okay. Ask them until you get to a place where you're making progress. And that's hard for me as a human, but it is beneficial to me as a business owner.
Right. And speaking of patience, right, and not knowing what we don't know. I know sometimes clients may reach out to us, right, because we're service-based as well. They reach out to us when their hair is on fire or they need something like next week. And I'm sure you get a lot of that being in the marketing space.
Today. Just a few minutes ago.
I know. So when would you suggest clients reach out to you if they have a need for any type of marketing service that you offer? When should they reach out to you?
Here is what I know to be true. I know that in the realm that I work in with typically, and I say small and just kind of to put a frame around that, the Small Business Administration considers small businesses like under something to the tune of $35 million,
right?
Something ridiculous that we could never possibly see as small. Like, every time I see that number, I'm like, I am so small compared to that.
Micro.
So when I say small businesses, I want you to hear that in its entirety, right? But one thing I've learned about dealing with kind of smaller organizations that are under the 35 million or whatever number that they have, is that last minute aspect is just a result of people trying to be nimble, right? They're trying to maximize opportunities. They're trying to realize revenue really quickly. And I get it. And though it's not ideal, because I understand it, I try to be as flexible as possible. And that honestly is incumbent upon me then to internally have better processes that allow me to pick up and move fast.
Right.
And that's, to some extent, it's okay. To others' extent, it's disrespectful. But sometimes, there are opportunities that happen where you're like, oh, this came up, I need help. And I get that, right? There is a place for that. And so I don't ever necessarily discount the last minute asks. But I have had to learn how to say no. Let's just throw that out there. Ideally, I think it's important in a perfect world, which does not exist, in a perfect world that I could make up with my own imagination, people would start their organizations with marketing in mind, right? So for the organizations that I deal with, they're still typically in startup mode. Maybe they're kind of getting out of that. But any time that you are transitioning and growing and you are trying to open capacity or you're trying to attract more people, at the beginning of that thought process, you should be thinking about marketing. You should be talking to someone about what might my strategy be in these digital channels. Even if I'm not ready to outsource that yet, having that conversation has so much value in the planning of what it is that you're doing. So coming to a company like mine or to me is most important to me when you are or is most impactful to me when you are in the kind of planning stages of where you're going next. So that when I come to you or we have a conversation with marketing later when it's already moving and I say, really, it would be helpful if you change B, even though you didn't come to me until you were on F. And now you are trying to reverse engineer something, or now you don't want to hear what I have to say because you're like, no, this is where we are. And I'm like, yeah,
too
well, that's
far.
a good place. But okay, I can make it pretty for you. And I don't really enjoy making stuff look good for the sake of making it look good. I want it to be, impactful. I want it to be efficient. I want it to help people meet their goals. So if you can try to think about it when you have the new idea, when you decide you're turning a corner, you're pivoting or whatever, and just say, let me pause, similar to how you do accounting or legal or anything, and say, let me pause and consider all the things, consider your marketing then. What does this mean I need to have in place? What does this mean makes it work and makes it more effective? That's ideal, right? So perfect is at the start of it all. Ideal is when you realize that you're trying to pick up some momentum or you have an idea. In today's world, again, attention span plays a part. I think the most I can ask is before you start spending too much money.
Right.
That's the most the least I can ask. Right. Like before you start bleeding money and then you come to a marketer and you say, I've already spent a bunch of money. I can't spend money. It's like, I didn't do that to you. But for me to help, it's going to cost, it's going to whatever. And it's marketing is an investment. So when you got the good ideas and you're trying to figure it out, at least consult. That's helpful.
Yeah. And if someone, what if I came to you and I wanted some consultation and I wanted to know what type of activities could our firm outsource to 1 Degree Marketing? What would that look like?
I'm good at having just kind of standard conversations. So in consultation, I don't have a particular type of consultation because I never get to answer questions generally, right? So I always tell people my consultations are like an hour or 2 hours. And in that time, you can do and ask whatever you want. You just have to be there while it happens. My goal in those consultations is to really hear what it is you're trying to accomplish. Because a lot of times what people come to me asking, like they may say, I want social media management. And after a 30-minute conversation, I'm like, you are not ready for social media management. You need A, B, C, and D first, and then you want to hand that over to somebody else. So those consultations, typically I'm asking people to understand what the organization does, how it works, how it runs, take me through the journey of what your customer goes through. How do we make sure that we're communicating this through these different channels? So consultations are very open, very not cookie cutter. It's a big conversation. It's going to challenge you and it's going to give you a lot of free information. I'm just going to be real honest with you. I end up giving away the game in my consultations because I want you to move forward, whether you decide to outsource or not. If we have that conversation and it's like, I get it, I understand, that's great. And you're like, but I'm not going to do it though. That's when you move over to the other side of outsourced services and say, hey, I understand, that's great. I would love to support you as you support me. What do you need from me? Then we move into the social media management, the email marketing, the website maintenance, or whatever it looks like to get you there.
Got it. Okay, good. What would you say are 1 or 2 things you had to totally rewire about your business? So thinking about, you touched on your creativity and your technical acumen a little bit earlier. So what would you say you had to totally rewire your mindset or your business around?
I had to, one of the early things I had to rewire my mindset around is what my unit of sale actually is, or what I'm selling. I always tell people, they're like, oh, you're in marketing, so you sell these services. I'm like, well, I sell time. I had to rewire my mind on that. I am selling hours in the day. I sell people their time back. So when organizations are working to do these things themselves, they are not necessarily wasting time, but they are spending time not doing the things that they did not sign up to do.
Right.
And so whereas I might do something in an hour, it takes most people 3 or 4 hours to do it. I'm selling you your time back, right? And so I've had to rewire how I approach that. That has changed for me, how I approach what we do internally and how we communicate the benefit and the value of it to customers. And that's one of the early things that I had to rewire. I had to be like, okay, girl, you are not selling social media. That's not really it. Like, that's what we're calling it. And that's a skill set, yes, but ultimately you're selling time. And it took me some time to understand that because that affected how I priced. I had to change my prices. I wasn't charging enough. Like, all kinds of stuff happened because of that rewire. So I have had to rewire how I approach what I'm actually offering. The other thing I've had to rewire is transitioning to being somebody's boss.
Talk about it. Let's drop these bars right quick.
Girl, and honestly, I hesitate because a friend of mine who's a great writer always says to write from your scars and not from your wounds. I think she took that from somebody else, but I don't know who that person is, so I'm gonna give her credit for it. But like, it's still something that I am having to rewire. Like, this is an active part of my life because I am hiring, but hiring and saying, oh, help me do the work is different from hiring and growing an organization and saying, I'm trying to build in management and I'm trying to build in departments and these different inner workings. That rewiring is still happening in my life. It is a current rewiring. And so I don't really know the lesson or where that ends right now. I just know that I am every day unplugging something that I thought might have worked one way and trying to plug it in somewhere else and say, does this solve the problem? Does this give the support to the people that we need? Does this make us more efficient? Is this worth the investment of the money? Do I offer benefits? Do I not? Do I pay for part of that? Like, all of that is a lot.
It is.
So, but growing out of, because, you know, we both built businesses on our skill set, right? And so as you become more of someone's, you know, you move up more in your organization, though it's kind of like your organization is lifting you up as opposed to you climbing up a ladder, right? Because you're building it under you. So you're just kind of slowly raising up, which gives you that higher CEO level and that kind of thing. But you have to get out of the weeds as much. So maybe you're not as hands-on, and like all of that rewiring is hard when you built it on your skill set. It makes it hard when you're like, people aren't going to do it like me. They're not going to find it like me. They're not going to talk to the client like me. And now I have to be okay empowering people to do that and letting go of tasks. And that's it's just a lot. It's hard to rewire because there's a lot of wires and they're just all there like this. You're like, okay, today I will address this wire, and now I will address this wire. And so it's a lot. So that's been the current, but the largest challenge in rewiring, just all of it in general.
So many bars. I don't even know. We would have to have a whole nother episode just to talk about the growing pains of managing a team, growing a team. But I mean,
hiring them in the first place, like, even that's a whole debacle.
Yes, it's been difficult the last couple of months. But yeah, I think we're finally getting over our hump. Also,
and it smooths out. You know, if y'all are listening to this and y'all like, this is not for me, because it sounds like challenge after challenge. I want to pause and say it does have its smooth roads, right?
Yes.
It's just not an infinite smooth road. It has bumps here and there, but I try to remind people, and I even have to remind my team, it's a bad day, not a bad life. These challenges are small challenges in the grand scheme of things. They're just a lot of small challenges. So if you think about it as a literal road, it is bumps. It's speed bumps. Sometimes those are like, oh, I ran over a Coke can, and other times it is, okay, I'm in a neighborhood and I need to take my time going over this bump. So if you think of it like that, yes, it sounds very challenging. So I wouldn't discourage anybody out there. Yes, grow your thing, you know, do the things you're doing. Yes, it's challenging, but it does have its smooth times. You do figure it out. You can figure it out. You can move forward. It takes work, and it's self-work. It's not just working your business. It's human self-work, and that's challenging.
It is. And every company goes through this. Sometimes depending on where you are in a company, you may not hear about certain things because of the level of where you are. And usually your managers and supervisors are trying to protect all of that away from you so you can focus on the work and stay at the task at hand and get to the completion of it. So a lot of times these things are happening in the background, but you just may not be hearing about it. But for us as, you know, small business owners, the impact is very fast. And it's like at the speed of lightning. And you have to make decisions, like Jacqui is saying, like you have to somewhat be nimble in order to just pivot quickly and go in different directions to keep things going. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And so a lot of it is throwing some darts some days. A lot of it is leaning on your network. Like if I need something marketing related, I'm calling up Jacqui. Like
Yeah.
you gotta make those relationships to stay in business. Like there's no way you can
Please
survive if you don't.
say it again. Say it again for the people in the back.
Like, I
they
dropped
say,
the bar.
Instagram, girl, listen.
What?
You gotta make the relationships, because I'm telling you, people saying your name in spaces that you cannot, people answering the phone in places where you need help is everything.
Yes.
It's everything. It's everything for me. I know for sure. It is everything.
And I have 3 friends right where you're sitting at in Birmingham now. So
that's right. We're always here for you. No matter what it is that you need, what you're looking for, we can help. We are in here. We try to stick together.
Jacqui, thank you so much for being here with us today. This was, oh my goodness, there's just bars that was dropped everywhere. And I hope you
every time I watch these episodes, I love when you say that. I just need you to I love it. I'm just like, yeah. Yes, bars. Yes, bars. Yes, I love it.
Is there anything else you like to share with the audience? Anything you wanted to give the audience, a freebie maybe, or
you know what? You know what? Let me tell you something real important. I give out a lot of free information, like all the time. What I will say is that if any of you are watching this, and I'm going to ask her to put this like somewhere in the description of things, I'm going to give her a link for you to try Elevation Academy for 7 days for free. And what I want you to do while you're in there is look around. There is content in there. I go through, again, I give a lot of free information away, but being able to have a space where you can say, oh, okay, I'm gonna get into Canva or whatever. I'm not a designer. What does Canva do? I walk through every piece of that platform. Stuff like that you may be able to use. I have a lot of different things in there for you to be able to audit what you have going on, challenges you can do with yourself or with friends. We typically do them as a group, but if you're doing them on your own, they're just as effective. There's just a lot of stuff in there. And I want you to have some time to kind of just look around and figure out, is this helpful for me? If you would like to become a member, we would love to have you. But if you decide, this was great for me, I'm glad that you came to visit. No pressure.
Awesome, Jacqui. Thank you so much. I'm sure the audience is going to appreciate Elevation Academy and digging into that and hopefully becoming a recurring client of One Degree.
Right.
For sure. Thank you so much for being here with us today on the Analytical Rewired. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And once again, Jacqui, I wish you all much success in your future. And I know the sky there is no limit for you all at One Degree.
What limit?
Yeah.
What limit for any of us? What limit?
Exactly.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
You are very welcome. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.